Hey, family. I am so excited and honored to be here this morning. I get to see real people. I'm seeing my BFFs, Ben and Kara, today. But I know you're there, and you really are our family. And I know that this message is very timely. We've been booked for 4 months or so to come speak this Sunday for such a time as this. It's a very important time. It is the week right after Easter. We're just last Sunday. We celebrated the death, burial, and resurrection and ascension to heaven with Jesus. And so this is a victory Sunday. This is like, okay, this is new beginnings with knowing that Jesus truly has paid the price so that we can move forward and have a fresh start. So anyway, all that said, I'm happy to be with you. I'm very prepared for a message today that I believe is timely. It's for you. Up till about an hour ago, this was planned for me to be here and Bob to be right here, and we're going to tag team, but Bob could not be up on stage today. So but he's here in the house, but the strength and the authority that Bob brings is still here in spirit. So I pray that you'll feel his heart as I just am the mouthpiece, which I'm actually really good at being a mouthpiece anyway. Speaking of which, Ben, oh my gosh, you are never at loss for words, are you? We have the gift, man. You can go. But I love your heart, Pastor Ben and Kara. And I love the worship this morning. I'm sorry if you missed it this morning, but I just thoroughly enjoyed being with you as our family because God is so faithful. He is so, so good. He is surrounding us with his peace and his joy. Okay, on to the message. Let's go. We're so full of anticipation for what's going on right now. Today, I want to talk about two resources that absolutely set you apart for such a time as this. We're going to talk about two of them and really focus on one of them. But these particular resources are going to affect your heart, your own personal heart, and your current situation, and they're going to affect your relationships. You're going to hear a theme as I speak today because Bob and I are very passionate about how we are relating to each other, relationships in your family, with husbands and wives. So I'm going to be using a lot of examples that include your relationships because we just want you to love your relationships. I mean, isn't life just better when we get along and actually enjoy each other? Recently, I've noticed Bob and I do a podcast every week called All About Relationships. And a couple weeks ago, we did one called I Want Progress. And usually there's someone in the relationship that just wants to improve the other person. And the other person is just saying, can't we just enjoy each other? Why do we always have to be improving? But, all of these different just tensions of mercy of how different we are just fun. Like God made us all so different. And I call us like cocktails. We're this concoction of this personality and our strengths and how what's important to us. And we get to have relationship with each other, which can be challenging, but let's not forget, it can be fun. It can be so fun. So today's message will help you to enjoy your relationships because that's always a common theme that Bob and I love to share with you. So as we move forward, are you ready for this? 2 resources that set you apart because we're believers. We're the ones that actually believe and know that we are chosen and ready to just be in love with Jesus. So, first of all, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. We're all going through change right now. There's change. It's absolutely a worldwide thing to think that every single person in the world is living in the same land. And that land is called the land of the unknown, right? We're all living in the same land. The whole earth is the land of the unknown in a way that's very unique in my lifetime. I've never experienced anything like this in my 55 years. But I want to just think about the word explorer. Let's think about explorers. Long time ago, I'm not a historian and I don't know my numbers, but when you're an explorer, you are actually venturing into a land that's never been trodden upon. It's never been sought out. Can you imagine with me how it must have felt to land your boat or whatever you do? I have to say that my husband, Bob, and I We do just see our kids like a lot these last few weeks, like probably a lot of you guys have. And our married kids, Dan and Janelle, come over and we just play this one game called Seafarers. It's a Settlers of Catan thing. We're total nerds, but it makes me think about these, and we're getting so good at it because we play every day now. But when those explorers actually landed in a new place, can you guys really imagine how scary that would have been? Like, they didn't know if there were going to be people ready with bows and arrows to attack. I don't know, whatever was going to happen. But whenever there's a land of the unknown, you become an explorer. So I want you to see yourself as an explorer, that there's risk and there's an adventure. But most importantly, the reason they explored is because they had a dream of a reward. They had a dream of something they had never seen before. You are in this new land, whether you like it or not, and you can be an explorer and you can see what's coming up. Because as a result of our season we're in, there is going to be new thinking for you. There's going to be new circumstances, and there's going to be even new habits that you form that can really be a reset for you. So, as we start, I wanted to read Isaiah 8:11-13. I absolutely love this because of the drama. I love drama. And in this particular version, it says, "And then the Lord said to me in the strongest of terms." And I was like, oh, like the Lord has said to you in the strongest of terms. I went, okay, I'm paying attention. Like if God's going to say something to me in the strongest of terms, then this is worth listening to, right? And so it says, the Lord said to me in the strongest of terms, do not think like everyone else. That's interesting, because the Lord said to me in the strongest of terms, don't think like everyone else. Don't be afraid of some conspiracy, that some plan conceived behind closed doors will be the end of you. Do not fear anything except the Lord God Almighty, because he alone is the Holy One. And if you fear him, you don't need to fear anything else. He will keep you safe. In the Bible. Bam. Right? I mean, this is incredible that God just had this all ready for us so long ago in the book of Isaiah, saying, don't think like everyone else. In the strongest of terms, I'm telling you, don't be scared of some conspiracy, you guys. Because as believers in the Lord, you get to fear God, and that alone sets you apart. So as we talk about these two things that you have that set you apart, it's because you don't fear anything else. You just fear God. That reverence, that just knowing that he is your Lord sets you apart. Because you see, many people feel trapped right now. Let's think about that word trapped. I love thinking about words. Can you tell? Okay, so when we think about the word trapped, maybe many people feel trapped. But the only way you feel, everyone say feel so trapped. The only way you can ever feel trapped in a relationship, in your house, in your family, in your financial situation, if you feel trapped, the only reason you would ever feel trapped is because you don't have a choice. That's what trap means. It means you don't have a choice. And the fact is today, I've got some amazing news for you, is you do have a choice. You always do. You've always got a choice, and you make 1,000 choices every day. So you're not trapped. So go ahead, join us our adventure, because we're going to pioneer through some times with flexibility and adaptability that's going to really set us apart. And I just wanted to read 1 Peter 2, 9, 10. You know this, but I'm just proclaiming it over. You are God's holy chosen people. You're God's chosen treasure. Priests who are kings, a spiritual nation. You are set apart as God's devoted ones. And he's called you out of this darkness to experience his marvelous light. And now he's claiming you as his very own. You're mine. Like I'm a mama bear, like you're mine. That's what God has done. He's just chosen us. And he says, you are mine. I just thought of that song. When you walk through the water, I will be there. And through the flame, you will not no way be burned. You will not no way be drowned. For I am with you. Ooh, if you don't know that song, I can't even believe how crazy that would have just sounded right now. But this says he does all of this so that you would broadcast his glorious wonders throughout the world. So again, let's get back to this message. I'm getting to those two things that set you apart in your heart, in your situation, and in your relationships. And these are them. The first one is peace. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because we've spoken this message to you guys before. But just as a quick review, for years, Bob and I have just been promoting peace and prioritizing peace because we have known in the depths of our heart that one day peace is going to be the greatest commodity you will ever have. We've been saying it for years. We're like, so we've established our heart for years so that when something happens, we don't know anything but peace. We can't even help ourselves. Peace is just our normal. And that is for you because that sets you apart as that Holy One, that you are a believer. You don't think like everyone else, remember, in the strongest of terms, because you think as a person of peace. In other words, you don't freak out. So peace is, it's fivefold. We love talking about this. Peace with God. Wow. I'm saying this to you. You have peace with God because of what Jesus did. Everything we celebrated last week. You have peace with yourself. You can have peace with yourself instead of beating yourself up and living with regrets and reminding yourselves of all your failures. You can fire the judge that does that to you and say, you're fired, and you can live at peace with yourself because of what Jesus has done. And you can have peace with others. We'll talk more of that later. Peace with your past, your story. And then the last one that we have with peace is that you can have peace with your season. Proverbs says that a wise son or daughter knows their season. Because if you know your season and you have peace with your season, then you're prepared and you're ready. Which brings us on to a very applicable message for such a time as this, is that we're going to know our season. Why not? Why not instead of just trudge through going, oh my gosh, it's winter and I didn't bring my coat. You know what I mean? You guys, I know you, those of you in Phoenix don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm from Canada. You want to be prepared for your season. But when you're prepared for your season, then you can enjoy your season, right? Even if it's freezing out, if you're prepared, if you're ready, then you can still enjoy it and you can be ready and have a plan. So even in this land of the unknown that we all live in right now, we can be prepared, knowing that this is a season. This too shall pass. But what are we going to do in the middle of this season? And that was just a review about peace, but the two resources that we have as ones set apart that don't think like everyone else, we have peace and dun-da-da-da. Are you ready for this one? I'm so excited about the rest of this message. This is the meat of the message. The other thing that we have is hope in heaven. We have hope that this is not the end, that this is just a small glimpse of what eternity is. We have the hope of heaven. We have it living and thriving and growing within our heart, that we have a hope that, yes, this is the world we see, but there's something so much more. In fact, if you were taking a walk and you were holding a sheet of paper in front of you, everything that we know in our finite understanding, and every person has known through the ages of time, could all fit on that piece of paper compared to what's actually going on. There's so much we don't see. There's so much going on that we don't quite have the dimensional thinking to know exactly, but we can feel it. In our hearts, as believers, we're going, we see what's going on in this earth, but we have a hope of heaven that's much bigger than this. Now, two things about heaven, really important. Yes, hope of heaven for after we die, but more importantly for today, we have hope of heaven to live right now, heaven on earth. And so we don't have to wait to pass to the next place to get to heaven. We can experience heaven on earth. And even Jesus, as he taught how to pray, said, Father, not my will, but thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I want your will, God, Father, to be in my life now. The kingdom of heaven is three things: righteousness, peace, and joy. That is the hope of heaven that we get to live every day. So now we know that, heaven, we know this isn't the end, but we get to live heaven on earth right now. So now I'm going to spend the rest of this time talking about 3 aspects of heaven and heaven on earth that will ignite your hope. And as we were preparing for today's message, I just love, we saw a picture of a fire. You know, a fire that's almost dead. I don't know if you've ever been camping. Bob and I love camping. We are crazy campers. We don't even care about taking showers and stuff, but don't tell anybody. But when you're camping, you got to go hardcore camping, and you light that fire at night. By morning, it's gray, it's all charcoal, but you want to, cozy up by the fire. So you take a stick, people. You take a stick, and you start poking that fire to find that little orange ember that you can start stabbing and moving and stirring it up. God wants to stir up your situation and impose his outcome on you. He's stirring up your situation. He's got you, but you have to take that stick and say, you know what? I'm willing to find that little ember, and I'm going to start igniting hope. If you even have the eensy-beansiest little bit of hope left, you can poke at that and stir it up to the point where it's going to start to catch fire and become a flame of hope that not just catches fire in you, but is contagious and spreads everywhere. So this igniting hope is a real picture for me that I believe that the hope of heaven is real, that we get to enjoy heaven on earth. 3 things about heaven. They all start with the letter R because I love you to remember. So these all start with R. First of all, as believers set apart, don't think like anyone else. We have to establish the rhythm of heaven. Rhythm of heaven is the preparation. Rhythm is a mindset. Let's talk about rhythm for a while. Okay, Bob, my husband, married almost 36 years, is a drummer. And I still remember where I was sitting at Christ for the Nations in Dallas, and I saw him near the front. And he was the blonde drummer with 2,000 people, but he was set apart because he had the groove. You know, some drummers, they're just like, they just have this invisible, crazy, unexplainable, there are no words, but he had it. You know what I mean? He had the groove where he could, like just the jazz, I don't know how he did it, but anyway, he understood rhythm beyond just what you heard with your ears. He had this understanding of rhythm that made it electric. I think that's what the rhythm of heaven is. It's like, I want to be in the rhythm of heaven. But let's think about this. Before you hear a band, you hear the drumsticks go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So what happens is they establish what the beat and rhythm and vibe and tone, and that they actually decide how the feel of this song is going to go. I play piano. I'm not as cool as Bob. I play piano. I'm so not as cool as Bob on so many levels. But I have to tell you, I had a metronome growing up because I studied classical piano, and you have to set that. Believe it or not, I know this will be a shock to every one of you. I tended to always do everything too fast. I know, you're shocked, right? Yeah. So my piano teacher would say, set the metronome at 132. This is an allegro. You got to feel it before you start playing that piano. Because if you're overexcited, you won't feel the groove. You won't miss. You'll miss the rhythm of actually walking in the rhythm of heaven. So in other words, I said all that because it was so interesting. No, I said it because it's set before you start. Do you feel this? The most important part of the rhythm is establishing it before it ever starts. You've got to feel it and understand it before you start playing your song, before you start drumming, before the music starts. You're establishing the rhythm of heaven. How do you do that? I'm so glad you asked. So fun talking to you. You guys can't boo me or nothing, man. You're just like, okay. Okay, we're going to set the rhythm of heaven. I'm just going to tell you there's many ways you can. But we're going to decide ahead of time that we're going to speak the truth and love. Jesus had such a model for us when it comes to communication, but into relationships. To speak the truth in love before you ever talk to anyone, you set it up. I'm going to be that person that actually speaks 100% truth in 100% love. Okay, it sounds like cliche to you, but I'm telling you, this is challenging because you are better at one than the other. You might be better at truth and you have no problem speaking your mind and being direct. But maybe the love, the kindness, the gentleness, the sweetness isn't quite as strong. Or you might be more like me. Sweet and fun is so easy for me. But if there's something I know that you probably should know, like I should probably tell you, do I have to? I don't want to tell you everything. Like I want to protect my kids from like, I won't tell Bob everything that Robert did because I don't want any conflict. You know what I mean? So I'll just kind of cover it up and do a little cover-up thing, and then it turns into manipulation. Anyway, I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I thought I was being so awesome because I'm always so sweet, but I have learned to value relationships work best when it's 100% truth and the 100% love. You can tell Bob and I may be different. There's not one better than the other, but we have both chosen to set the rhythm of heaven in our relationship. But you know what? We're going to speak 100% truth, and we still have to practice. Every week we get new ways we could get to practice this. But we are setting our intention, setting the rhythm. We're going to speak the truth in love. The other thing I didn't know, how long do I supposed to talk? Like another, how long? And then I can edit. Another. Oh, wonderful. I'll be able to do the whole message. Okay, good. So we're going to decide truth and love. Did you hear that word decide? You decide ahead of time. It's intentional because you're setting the rhythm of heaven. And then you're going to decide to be thankful, because there is always something to be thankful. And this is so scriptural, because anytime you enter into anything, you enter into the kitchen, and then you enter into the bathroom. You're only going to 4 places, like, because you're home, right? Most of you. But as you enter into new rooms, or you enter in your car, but anytime you enter into somewhere new, I entered this stage. We're constantly entering. And I love that God uses that word, because he goes, when you enter, it's a gate. And if you have thankfulness, you've already established that you're in the rhythm of heaven. When you have thankfulness, you are automatically setting the stage for the rhythm of heaven. You've already decided and established before. Another way with the rhythm of heaven is decide to be teachable. Here we are, you guys. April 2020. We're going to be thankful. We're going to speak truth and love. And guess, because we're in our relationships hardcore right now. You guys are on, getting your doctorate right now in marriage, because you're with each other 24/7. So I'm just giving you some really good practical advice. And the other one, number 3, is to decide to be teachable, because the ones that are going to be most adaptable and flexible right now are the ones that are going to gain every bit of reward from being an explorer right now. The more adaptable and flexible you are and teachable, the more you're going to be able to be moved and to be in your thoughts, in your responses, in your challenges. Being teachable is in the rhythm of heaven, because God says he exalts, what is he proud and thank you, the word resist. Thank you so much, Kara. He resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. So that's that flow, right? So as we are humble and teachable and adaptable and flexible, we're in that rhythm, just like Bob, the amazing drummer, right? He got the rhythm beforehand, that he gets to be teachable. And letting go of past opinions and the ways of doing things shows maturity. Let go of the way you've always done stuff, and preferring others preferring others more than yourself will naturally take the pressure off the intensity of your home and atmosphere right now. Whatever you're going through, the pressure's on, people. You're being squeezed. So whatever's in there is going to come out. So when you are considering others as more important than you and being super humble, and even examine your expectations of people around you and just lower them. Why not? Because it's like a home free card from disappointment. If you go ahead and lower your expectations. You won't be disappointed. What a concept. So lowering your expectations can be a strategy for coping in difficult times. Lower your expectations because more expectations equals more pressure. The last thing you need, my sweet and beautiful friend, is more pressure right now. So just go ahead and lower those. Take time to evaluate what you've expected from others and look at those in your home through the lens of tender-hearted mercy. Be teachable, flow. Set the rhythm for your day, the rhythm of heaven. Another one of rhythm of heaven is to decide to be childlike. That's a challenge because you're probably not a child, but you can decide childlikeness. And this is one of my favorite subjects because I really know when Jesus in Matthew 11:25 or somewhere around there, maybe 28, I don't know, but Jesus was praying to the Father and he said, "Thank you, Dad, for hiding the truth from those who find themselves so clever, so wise, and so, oh my gosh, I know everything, and to tell your secrets to the childlike ones." So I have been very intrigued, motivated, and I have studied, and I've just been very aware of being childlike because I want to know God's secrets. I know you do too. When you want to know God's secrets, what is it about being childlike that sets children apart from adults? As I said, I could do a whole weekend seminar on this, but I thought of 3 today that are kind of new, that are they all start with I, and that is children don't have to be important. This is a good one for me. I don't know about you, but sometimes I think I've got to be important, and it just screws up everything because it's like, who cares? You don't have to be important. Kids don't have to be important. They just get to be themselves and sing their song with freedom and joy, and they don't worry about the bills. They don't lay you up at night wondering how the business is going to work, how they're going to have to be a big deal. So I'm just setting you free right now. Another get out of jail free. Get out of the trap. You don't have to be important. It's so good. Another one, you don't have to be impressive. You don't have to be amazing and a big deal. You just get to be you. And the third I, so no, you don't have to be important, impressive, or independent. The other I is because as a childlike one, I get to just depend on my dad. That's why children just, do you remember when you were a kid? You just go to bed at night, good night, Mom and Dad. See you in the morning. It'll all work out. It's because you had a mom and dad to take care of you. In a perfect world, children never have to be independent. They get to be dependent ones. So the rhythm of heaven is to be a dependent, childlike one. Thanks for your patience with this because I'm pretty excited about the rhythms of heaven. And that is this: you decide to be at rest. A lot of you are learning rest and Sabbath. It's becoming a theme. But let this rest not just be something that happened in 2020. Let it be a reset for you, where you're in your flexible, teachable, adaptable, that rest is going to naturally set you up for the song of heaven, where you enjoy your family, you enjoy quality time together. All of these things that rest brings, because Sabbath wasn't just about not going to the store and not buying things. Yes, it was all those things and preparation so you could just be there. But rest was saying, I don't have to rely on human ways of anything, but for one day a week, I rest in knowing that my God is God and I'm set apart and I live in the rhythm of heaven. So we've talked about, just to do a quick review, we've talked about what sets us apart is peace and the hope of heaven. So the 3 R's that are about hope in heaven is, number 1, the rhythm of heaven. I feel like you've heard my heart for this, just to establish the rhythm before you even start singing. But now we're going to the next one, and that is, now you've set the tone. Boom, boom, boom. And now we enter into the realities of heaven. The realities of heaven, I see, is a land. You know how I said we live in the land of the unknown? The realities of heaven are choosing what land you're going to live in, because we live in overlapping realities. The Bible talks about this. We have earth and we have heaven. We are living in both dual overlapping realities every single moment of every day. And we can choose to be trapped here on earth in time, trapped in our bodies as a temporal situation. That's one reality, which most people are pretty locked in. Or we can live in the overlapping reality that's happening, eternal, invisible realm, where, very superior. Thanks, Carrie. Do that all day long. Just give me good words. Because honestly, overlapping realities are real, and it is your choice. And I see them as lands because I see them almost as force fields. You can be on this force field, or you can be on this force field, and you get to choose. So we live in the rhythm of heaven, but then we make sure that we step into the reality that heaven is real, more real than that chair you're sitting on right now. It's your choice. And when you live in the realities of heaven, you live in a land all day long where you hang out with Jesus and you get to enjoy righteousness, peace, and joy. So now I want to just talk about the things that are going to rob you and bring you back down. Because I know we all want to live in the reality of heaven on earth and live in that overlapping reality. But what is it that can keep us or entangle us and trap us back and pull us down? And because I just chose Psalm 91 because you guys all know it. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide, which means every minute of every day, abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom will I trust. We get to live in this secret place. We get to be childlike ones that hear his secrets and live in that secret place. So what's going to pull you down, I'm going to just relate this to relationships because I feel like relationships can keep us in the land of suffering or in the land of heaven. A lot of people, when it comes to relationships, most of us are going to make daily decisions to suffer in our relationship or to live in complete harmony in every single relationship. Does it sound like an impossible? And I'm going, nope. But I'm going to give you some hints because I said I've got to bring relationships in because that's where Bob and I are 24/7, just helping people in their relationships. And what I find with relationships is that if you're in the land of suffering, so think of in a relationship where you are feeling like it's not that great, kind of suffering, it doesn't feel enjoyable, safe, it doesn't feel like the flow of the rhythm of heaven is in this relationship. Of course, what happens is you're dealing with an imperfect person, because we all are. I have news for you. You are in relationship with imperfect people. Every single relationship you have is with an imperfect person. Now, we love Jesus, but we are not perfect yet. So we're imperfect people. So imperfect people hurt each other, even accidentally. Imperfect people aren't enough sometimes, and you just feel like, man, I wish he or she would do more. I wish he or she would respond more, or give me more attention, or whatever this is. So when we're living with someone that isn't perfect, we establish a complaint. Yeah, when it comes to my relationship with so-and-so, I just wish she or he was more this. I wish she was more that. That would make me feel a lot more loved if he would just do this. That's just a complaint. Right? And it keeps you in the land of suffering, just saying. And then you can also just even have an actual frustration. Oh, that person frustrates me. Well, welcome to the land of suffering. Because you're with an imperfect person. Wow. Big news flash. It's an imperfect person. You're going to get frustrated. And the third one is you can create an actual offense, and you've decided, you know what? That person needs to even pay for what they do. I hope they feel it. So what do you do if you want to live you can live in either perpetual joy in your relationships or perpetual suffering. And you say, well, I would love to live in joy, but you don't even know who I'm living with. Or you can just, the cool news, it makes no difference who your imperfect people happen to be. It's the same truth applies to every single one of us. This is so great. Because, I'll just talk about two things. Just this week, Bob and I we aren't traveling anymore, and that's what we usually do. So we're doing a lot of online coaching and counseling with individuals and with couples. And so people are booking us online, and, we're pretty busy. And in a good way, but we're really helping people, and it's helping me understand as I empathetically go into these people's situations that are bad. You guys, we have people in our home on Zoom and all that kind of stuff they're in really difficult situations and they're living with really imperfect people. And I've got this person that I want to help. So last week I was helping a particular young wife, and just marriage was nothing like she wanted it to be. She was in the land of suffering. This is not what I signed up for. I feel like I'm doing all the work. I feel like I'm being the responsible one. I feel like there's nothing I can do to motivate my husband or whatever that might be. I hope you're being able to apply this to your situation. Whatever that imperfect person is not doing or isn't in their personality or character, whatever that is. So as I was with this girl last week, I had her close her eyes. And I said, can you imagine a land of suffering? And I wanted her to describe it to me. So she did. She said, her land of suffering is dark, lifeless, dry. I said, what's in the land of suffering? And she goes, there's skeletons everywhere. And she goes, and there's spiders, because I hate spiders. I said, okay, good. Like, make it an experience, because you have to not want to be here. You have to establish enough disgusting reality to how much this suffering is that you got to want to come out. So we realized quickly that the skeletons represented all the dreams she had that were dead. And now she's living in this land of suffering. But in this particular end, in the land of suffering, there's always a pole. It's right in the middle of the land, and it's a pole that sticks out, and it says something. And for her, the pole said, it's not fair. And it wasn't. Guess what? It wasn't fair. So she imagined herself with her eyes closed in this disgusting land, holding on to the pole of not fair. And I validated her. I said, girl, that pole is real. There are some things with imperfection, in imperfect people you're dealing with. It's not fair right now. It's not fair. But I don't want you to live in suffering anymore. So as she closed her eyes, I said, just say, Jesus, I need you. Do you think that Jesus could enter that land of suffering? And she saw Jesus come to her. And at this point, she had already sat down by that pole and said, I'm going to have to just settle and live here. But Jesus lifted her up, and as he loved her and she saw him there and she melted into his love, her hand let go of the pole, and she was able to embrace the goodness, the joy, the faithfulness of Jesus. When imperfect people are not faithful, Jesus is always faithful. Always faithful. She melted into his love, and before long, she went from the overlapping reality from the land of suffering. She let go of that pole of not fair, and she entered into the land of righteousness, peace, and joy. Did her spouse change, or did her spouse apologize or make new promises or go to counseling? No. But she got to live in the overlapping reality of righteousness, peace, and joy just by letting go of that pole that says it's not fair. I could go on and on. I have examples from every day because of different experiences that people have where they choose to leave their land of suffering and enter into that overlapping reality where they get to live in this land of righteousness, peace, and joy. But I want to finish the message now and get to that third part, because we have the rhythm of heaven. Remember, we decide beforehand. And then we have the reality of heaven, and that's a land. And the third R is the resources of heaven. When we have established the rhythm of heaven and we're living in the reality of heaven, which is the land, now we get to enjoy the resources of heaven. And that is the key word right there, is to receive. So as we close, I just want to say that receiving is a very godly, heavenly, important aspect of every day. You cannot give until you receive. You receive as you live in this new land of righteousness, peace, and joy. Receive and believe everything he says. Because my challenge tends to be, I get to this place, I'm living in my new reality, but then I see some lack, right? It isn't going the way I thought it would. So I go, wait, I thought I had the resources of heaven, of protection and provision. I thought provision was going to come, and then I hear myself say it, I controlled the process. If you're not feeling like you're receiving the resources of heaven, maybe you've been controlling the process of how it was supposed to happen, how that was going to look. Maybe you've tried to control the outcome, that if God is truly my provider, it'll look like this. Maybe you control the process and you control the outcome. And that's when we get right back into the other land, because then we're making it's all about earthly solutions then. You're not seeing the heavenly solution of how much higher it is, how much more it is than just that piece of paper in front of you. There are dimensions that we don't understand until the punchline one day, right? We don't know everything. But I want to be one of those people who receives extravagant love from Jesus and just taps into that rhythm of heaven and says, yes, yes, yes to righteousness, peace, and joy every day. I'm going to set the beat, the tone, the rhythm, to speak the truth in love, to be teachable, to be thankful, to be childlike, to know rest, and then live in that land of righteousness, peace, and joy where I enjoy the resources of heaven. You have just heard a message that includes a lot of choice. You are not trapped. Remember, trapped people mean they don't have a choice. But I'm saying to you right now, you have so much choice to receive from Jesus his provision, his protection, and his promotion. So let's pray together, because that's what the good, loving Father does, is he protects, he provides, and he promotes you. That's what a dad does. That's a good Father that does that. And this morning as we started church today, we were singing that song, All My Life You Have Been Faithful. And I was on the front row. There was only 3 of us in church, but I was streaming with tears because all my life he has been faithful. I've seen the hard. I've been through times where it was hard. I've been through times when I wanted the outcome to look different than what it did. And I've been through times when I just wanted it to control the process, and I wish it would work like this. But then when I look at the big picture, I cry because he's been so faithful. He's always protected me. He's always provided. And he's always promoted me. All my life he has been faithful. All my life, all your life he's been so, so good. And his goodness isn't just following you, it's chasing after you. His goodness is running after you, catching you in this land of the unknown. And as Jesus catches you, just stop and let him swoop you up and enjoy the reality of heaven for right now. Thank you, Father, that the one that's listening right now is feeling that presence of you, that you're so real. You are so much more real than this earth that we happen to be in right now. And I pray that you'll start turning lights on and just remembering you've been so faithful. And if you're listening there, just repeat after me and say, Jesus, I need you right now to be so real. I don't want you to be an idea or just words. I want to experience you beside me, on this chair, or wherever you are, in the car, on the couch. I need to experience you right here. And just close your eyes and melt into his love, his presence, his strategies, his wisdom, everything that is heaven on earth. Because as one set apart, you do not think like everyone else does. He said in the strongest of terms, don't think like everyone else, because when you only fear me, because then you will live in the realities of heaven, the rhythms of heaven, the resources of heaven, and then you'll have peace. Peace with God, peace with yourself, peace with others, peace with your story of how it's happened so far, and then peace with your season, knowing that we are explorers in an unknown land of the unknown, and we're going to get the reward of being teachable in this place. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.